Welcome everybody. Today we are looking at the Lag Naraj Chand meter in Akāl Ustati. This is part 5. Probably one of the most famous verses or meters in Akāl Ustati. If we go right down to the bottom, you'll probably recognize why these verses where Guru Gobind Singh just goes over and says Tuhi, 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 Tuhi multiple times over multiple verses is really famed and it's well known, even if you don't know Akāl Ustati. So we're going to look at how we get there, and we're just going to do a little recap with the last meter at the end of it. We traversed all these different types of practices, and at the end of it, the last meter, Guru Gobind Singh kind of focuses on what is really important for Sikh practice in terms of, understanding that all these other karam, all these other actions are fokat meaning without any ras, without any flavor, without any sense of experience, right? And what is that experience? Is a devotional practice, right? That one must frame everything within a devotional practice. And what I mean by that is, regardless of what type of action you're doing it with a sense of devotion to the divine, right? You're not doing it for the purpose of, obtaining different siddhis or riddhis or different types of powers, or in any way kind of reinforcing a sense of self. So this is going to be really important as we go forward, because this devotional practice is then paired or matched with or kind of put in the perspective of understanding the divine within everything, within oneself as well, right? So at times the devotional practice, the bhakti perspective, is directed towards a personalized divine, whether that's masculine or feminine. And in Guru Granth Sahib, that's generally masculine, referred to as Hari, Ram, Krishna, etc. These types of words. Vaheguru is used as well. But in Dasam, at times it gets used, it gets personalized in the feminine, with the imagery and the stories of the Chandi, of Devi being utilized, right, drawing from kind of a martial perspective of the divine. But at other times, in Akāl Ustati, as we're going to see here, the divine is recognized and perceived within everything, right? And we already looked at that before when we went over, Sarvakal Sarvathor Ek Se Lagad Ho, where Guru Gobind Singh, this is basically in the second part of this series, at the end of it, Guru Gobind Singh is going over all different types of action and all different types of people, and saying that across all these types of people and all types of action, the divine is perceived, right? There's no negative or positive. These are perceived negatives and positives. Kahun Barded, at times the divine is bestowing gifts and charity. At other times, with deception, the divine is kind of stealing or taking away from people, right? But Guru Gobind Singh then says, Sarvakal, Sarvathor, in all time, across all places, Ek Se Lagat Ho, that I perceive that Ek, right? That Paramatma, that divine who is just one within everything, regardless of whether we're going to think of that as good or bad, right? So this is really important for Guru Gobind Singh, and it gets repeated over and over again. And it's just that perspective is just gonna explode here in the kind of final verses of this chant, of this meter. So Guru Gobind Singh begins saying, Twaya Prasad, with your grace, I'm reciting this Lagun Naraj Chand. If you want to look up that meter again, you can just copy paste this, and at times you'll have to kind of play with the spelling of it, because there's many different spellings of these types of meters. As you can see here, this is Mahan Ghosh, and he's saying, it's now this name of the meter is Naraj or Nagraj or Pancha Chamar. Different types of names are given to it, and there's different versions of it as well. So in Akāl Ustati, you're going to have a different version of it. As you can see here, this is called Lagu, or a small version of this, a shortened version of this. And the longer version of it, and its metrics, kind of like how it's composed, is provided here by Khan Singh Namba and the Mahan Ghosh. So if you wanted to look that up, you can do that here. But Guru Gobind Singh then begins saying, Jale Hari Thale Hari, that the divine Hari is within the water, right? Or within the waters. The A at the end here is locative. And you can, if you had looked at sacred language of the six by Shackle. He'll describe this here. You kind of zoom in on this. The L for locative, meaning it's within, right? So it could either be signified with a sahari, a short it sound, or the long a sound, like jale. So that is kind of the go-to book. This is the go-to book if you want to look at Gurbani grammar. This is, locative is going to be covered in lesson 14. There's another great book that recently came out on the Vyakaran, the grammar of Dasam Granth, the writings of Guru Gobind Singh. A little bit more difficult to engage with because it's Majabi. I'll put the image up here if you guys want to look at that. Jale Hari, the divine Hari, is in the water. Thale Hari is in the land. Ore Hari is in my heart. Bane Hari is in the forest. And this is going to continue. Gire Hari, the divine, is in the mountains. Gope Hari is in the caves. Chite Hari is in the earth. Nabe Hari is in the sky. Iha Hari, is ette, he's over here. Hari is over here. Unha Hari is over there, otte. Right? And that could mean also he's in this world of this life, but he's also in the afterlife as well. Paralokwich. Jami Hari is in the land, he's in the earth. Jama Hari is in the sky. Alek Hari, the divine, is accountless, he's without any lekha. Apik Hari is he's devoid of any kind of garb, right? He doesn't have any form, right? So again, this perspective here that Guru Gobind Singh is presenting is this Advaita perspective. There's a perspective of non-duality, right? That Guru Gobind Singh is saying that the divine is everywhere. He's in the sky, he's in the earth, he's in me, he's in my heart, he's in the caves. He's without any distinction, right? So he can't be separated anywhere. And this is kind of a refocusing of how to think about the divine, right? So you get this oscillation between using imagery and stories of the divine within even this composition is going to talk about, how the divine cannot be thought of as masculine or feminine. But then later on, you're going to have talk about, the divine as the form of Chandi, right? So you get this oscillation between the two. So it says, Apik Hari is without any kind of form, without any type of garb. Adok Hari is out with any, he doesn't have any blemish. Adwak Hari, this means duality. He's without any duality, right? So you can't separate, the divine from anything, right? Akāl Hari is timeless, he's deathless. Apāl Hari, he is without, he cannot be nurtured. Basically, there's nobody superior. There's no mother. You're going to get this Amat Hari as well in this chant. Ached Hari, he can't be cut in any way. Apid Hari, he cannot be known, right? There's no secret to the divine. There's no kind of, oftentimes in spiritual traditions or religious traditions, there's this urge to understand the divine intellectually. But over and over again in Guru Granth Sahib and Dasam and other Eastern traditions as well, you get this idea that Paramatma Hari, the divine, is Agama Gochar. He's beyond the senses and he's beyond any type of intellectual ability to understand the divine, right? So it just goes beyond our understanding. It's like a dog trying to understand, our financial system, right? It just has no capacity to understand that, right? Maybe a dog could understand feelings and commands from, its owner, etc., but that is simply beyond the scope of its capacity. And in the same way, these traditions and the Sikh tradition, again, over and over again, talks about we do not have the capacity, just the material, like the actual physical, mental capacity to understand the divine. So hence, you get these Apiyad Hari, these types of verses here that, Hari cannot be understood in any type of way. His mystery cannot be understood. And in the same way, it says Ajantar Hari, a Mantar Hari, so Tej Hari, a Tantar Hari, that the divine is without any Jantar, or this is called Yantara. So you'll see this if you Google Yantara, you will see different types of diagrams, and this is used in Buddhist traditions and Indic traditions as well, as a point of focus, right? To help with meditation. And in the same way, a tool like a mantar meaning, a type of a name or phrase which is recited over and over again to help the mind focus. And tantra as well, certain types of, formulas or certain types of, practices to also help focus the mind, right? That the divine is beyond any of these. Why? Because the divine is non-dualistic, right? Advaik is the word that we got up above, right? And apid, his mystery cannot be known. If it's indivisible, you cannot create a conception to help you, understand the divine, right? It's beyond any of these, right? And then this is paired with understandings from a devotional perspective, where you do have mantras in the Sikh community, right? In the Sikh practice. Vaheguru Guru mantra hai jab ho main khoi. This is by Gurdas Var. And from a devotional perspective, where there is duality of me, the devotee and the divine, right? Naturally, a devotional perspective has duality. So in that perspective, mantras are helpful, right? They are useful, and they are used. And Sikh practice has used them, since the beginning. If you're going to twist Gurbani in some type of way to say like that didn't exist, we have historical texts that talk about, the Guru themselves, telling Sikhs and Hukamname, and across historical texts, describing what a spiritual practice looks like, right? So mantras are used, but mantras just by themselves cannot be used to kind of conceptualize the divine. Like that mantra is not the divine itself, right? Hari is just beyond that, right? Is above that. So Tej Hari. Hari is just extremely powerful, right? Tej means, it can mean bright. It can mean, it can even mean kind of vicious or powerful. Ajat Hari, Hari is without any type of jatpat. Apat Hari, right? So he's, without any birth. He's without any type of lineage. Amita Hari, Hari has no friend in a sense where he is, in a sense that's kind of like an equal or a dependent. Amat Hari, again, this idea about without any dependency. Hari has no mother, right? Rog Hari, Hari is without any sense of ailment, any type of sickness. Asog Hari, he is without any grief. Aparam Hari is out when he's without any illusion, right? Maya does not affect Hari at all. Akaram Hari, Hari is kind of separated from all action as well. So Hari in a sense is beyond all action as well. Ajay Hari, Hari is unconquerable. He's Jit, he's he can't be defeated. Apeh Hari is like Nirpao in Mool Mantra. He's without any fear. Aped Hari, he has no secrets in a sense that you can't kind of conceptually understand the divine. And a Ched Hari, he can't be cut up in any type of way. He can't be divided. And in the same sense, a Khand Hari, he can't be cut up in any type of way. And that again is stressing this idea of that ik at the beginning of Guru Granth Sahib, and how Guru Gobind Singh talks about the divine here from a Dvayat perspective, this kind of non-dualistic perspective. A Pand Hari, Hari cannot be slandered or mocked or made fun of in any type of way. A Dand Hari, and Hari cannot be punished in any type of way. And in the opposite, Prachand Hari, Hari is, extremely powerful and vicious and glorious, etc. as well. Atev Hari, Hari is, extremely great. This comes from the Sanskrit Ativ. Apev Hari, again, this is like the same word as Apev. Basically, it cannot be known. Ajev Hari, again, it cannot be defeated. And you're going to ask why, perhaps, this has come up before, but why are we seeing repetition here, right? Guru Gobind Singh has already said Ajay Hari, right? And why the need to put Ajev Hari, which is the same thing in a different, spelling and kind of a different way? Because the point is not in these compositions, I would argue, to list out a treatise, to list out kind of a map of the divine, right? This is not done to kind of write a textbook on the divine, right? That, okay, we have these qualities and this is what the divine is, right? This is a composition of praise, right? And when you're praising divine, there's going to be repetition. If you look at Jap Sahib, you're going to see that repetition as well. Akāl Ustat is literally the Ustati, the praise of Akal, right? So you're going to have this repetition. And this is a devotional practice to recite this. This is not just some type of spiritual treatise or like a textbook which is trying to define the divine, right? This is meant to be performed, right? This is meant to be fun. This is meant to be experienced, which is why you get different spellings for similar words, and this is why it's in poetic meter, and it's why it's layered with metaphor and beautiful imagery, etc. So this is why you have this repetition. Some people who are looking for a text which is just going to give them the secret, right? This period of the divine, right? This mystery of the divine. They are looking for like, okay, this has already been said before. Why are we saying this, right? This is not what this text is meant to give you, right? This is not trying to define the divine in any way like that. As you can see, they're putting negations. The divine cannot be defined, right? Ajev Hari, so again, the divine cannot be, I don't know why it's saying food here, but cannot be defeated. Achev Hari, again, cannot be cut in any type of way. And now we're getting to imperatives, right? So those were kind of like talking about the divine. And this is imperative, meaning in grammatical speak, it means a command, right? It's telling you, Pajo Hari, worship, Pajo, the divine, right? Tapo Hari, establish divine. Tapa here means like tapana, means like to establish the divine, essentially implied within yourself, right? Tapo Hari, tapasya Hari, right? Austerities towards the divine, right? And Japo Hari, recite the divine's name. Jalas Tuhi, now the sassa here, so jal we've already encountered before, right? When we looked at Jale Hari at the beginning of this. So jal means water. And when we put the sassa here, it's basically short for as or asti from the Sanskrit, which in Punjabi is just ha, right? This is kind of the auxiliary word, kind of meaning is or are. So tuhi, you alone, the he is going to be also separate. There's tu and then there's he as well. So you alone are the waters, right? Or you alone are the water, right? And this is really important because then it's going to say talas tuhi, you alone are the ground, right? The earth. And this is important because in Indic tradition you have ideas that even different parts of nature are considered different deities. For example, different rivers would be associated with different devis, Saraswati River, etc. But here, and like for example the waters are considered Varan Devta. So here Guru Gobind Singh is saying no, you alone are the waters, right? You alone are the earth. Tartima like is not a devi. You alone are that earth, right? You alone are the streams, nadas tuhi. You alone, nadas tuhi, are the oceans, right? You alone are the brichhasta. You alone are the tree. Patas tuhi, you alone are the leaves. Chitas tuhi, you alone are the earth again. Urdas tuhi, you alone are the sky. And then we're going back to worshipping Pajastung, that I worship you. Paramatma Hari, Pajastung. And again, you have this repetition. Ratastung, I repeat your name. Rata means to kind of like over and over again to recite. And which is interesting because you might hear from commentators nowadays that, oh, what's the point? And actually, even in fact, in Akāl Ustati, we're going to hear in the next verse, right? So in part 6, we're going to hear criticism of, if you could get to the divine just by saying Tuhi Tuhi, which is what this verse is doing, right? As we're going to see at the end of this. If you could get to the divine just by saying Tuhi Tuhi, well, then there's birds that do that, right? Which saying Tuhi Tuhi, right? So, why isn't the bird mukt, right? Why isn't the bird liberated? And again, that's important because we have this distinction that Guru Gobind Singh is going to hit on over and over again, in that action alone is not enough, right? But action performed with a devotional practice, as in a devotional push, a feeling, right, of love, that makes it parvan, that makes it acceptable, right? So reciting things over and over again, just kind of mechanically, without any kind of feeling of love there, without any affection, that is just useless, right? So in a way, that critique is correct, which is what we're going to hear in the next verse, where Guru Gobind Singh is going to say, a bird doesn't have that devotion, right? The bird is just singing because of whatever, it's a tendency to do that, right? That's why the bird doesn't get mukti just by doing that, right? Whereas somebody who is doing that with affection, with devotion, right? And this is what I'm saying about if you frame it within devotion, right? If you frame that practice within devotion, that is accepted, right? So here it says ratastung tatastung, that I have takonda, I've kind of established this you tung in my heart, right? Zami tuhi, zama tuhi, like you are the earth, you are the sky. Maki tuhi, maka tuhi, you are the kind of the landlord, you are the kind of the house, and you are also maki tuhi, maka tuhi, you are the landlord and you are the house as well. Apu tuhi, apa tuhi, so you are without any birth and you are without any fear. Achunha tuhi, you cannot be touched, or you're just beyond kind of the ability to kind of grasp as well. Achha tuhi, you are cannot be killed, you cannot be destroyed. Going back to this, jatas tuhi, you are alone, celibacy or self-control. Bratas tuhi, you alone are fasting, right? You alone are the fast. Gatas tuhi, you alone are liberation. Matas tuhi, you alone are intellect or wisdom. Then Guru Gobind Singh goes on, tuhi, 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 you alone, you alone, you alone, you alone. And Guru Gobind Singh does this for 2 verses. Tuhi, 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 you alone, you alone. It's kind of an explosion of, Guru Gobind Singh is saying, like, you are in the sky, you are in the earth, you are in my heart. You are, the house, you are the landlord, you cannot be touched, you cannot be destroyed. You alone are all of these practices of celibacy, of fasting, of salvation, of intellect. There's nothing that you are not, right? So this is the perspective that Guru Gobind Singh is providing for everybody, that you should never distinguish the divine from, the material world. And you should never, like in that second part of the series, where Guru Gobind Singh is talking about all these different types of people who are engaged in all this type of practice, to see the divine within all of those people, right? Regardless of what you think, those people are doing, there is definitely, from a perspective of Karam Kand, a good and a bad, right? That which should be done and that which should not be done, right? And this gets talked about in Gurbani as well. And regardless of that, you should see the divine working through those people, right? That you should recognize divinity in all people. And this is going to be a constant theme where Guru Gobind Singh is then even going to talk about certain localities. He's going to talk about people in Delhi. He's going to be talking about people in the Himalayas. He's talking about people in the Middle East, right? And he's going to be talking about people in China. He's going to say that all these people are as well the manifestation of the divine as well, right? And it stems out of kind of this perspective of non-duality, right? So again, to be clear, you're getting this pairing between kind of this non-dual perspective and a devotional perspective, right? Where Guru Gobind Singh says, I worship you, Pajastuang, right? And I recite your name over and over again. I establish you within my heart as well, right? So both of these perspectives within Guru Gobind Singh's works of Akāl Ustati, of Jap Sahib, are merged together so beautifully, and they really complement each other, and you'll see them kind of like sometimes switch back and forth between these perspectives, right? And this is the paradox between devotion and kind of this wisdom or this insight of non-duality of the world, right? So that's where we're going to end today. In the next verse, we are going to look at basically Guru Gobind Singh criticizing all of these types of actions which are not framed, which are not positioned with kind of affection, or not pushed forward with devotion, right? But before we go there, I wanted to show you from Bhai Mani Singh's version of Adi Guru Granth Sahib and Dasam Granth Sahib put together, this verse here, which is so beautifully written. And that's where we're going to end off today. See you next time.